Hello, welcome back to the Mob of 2 channel. Matt here. Today's going to be a Mob of 1 video where I will be reviewing Superman. Now, this will be a spoiler review, so if you don't want to know anything about the movie, if you don't want the entire thing spoiled for you, turn the hell around, fly away like Superman, do whatever the hell you gotta do, but do not watch this video. If you want to know everything that happens, or most of what happens, you want to hear some detailed thoughts on it, what I thought worked, didn't work, aka the good, the bad, and the ugly, feel free to stay and enjoy the video. Now, I don't think I've been this conflicted on a movie in a long time, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it means that I really, truly loved aspects of the film, and then there were parts that really didn't work for me, but in some ways, great art is kind of more fun when there are things that a person really loves and then really has an issue with, rather than something that's just kind of fine or just mediocre or average and doesn't really have any high highs at all or any low lows. And I would say this is a movie with some high highs and unfortunately a few low lows. I'm still kind of letting the movie marinate before I kind of come to the conclusion of whether I would say I fully love it or not. But I will say, I enjoyed this film more than Man of Steel. I know there's a lot of people who hate Man of Steel and a ton of people who, not a ton, but maybe 50-50, half of people hate it, half of people really support it and defend it. But, Man of Steel didn't really work for me. In my personal opinion, the character of Superman works better when it's approached, in the way the original Richard Donner film was, and then kind of in the way that James Gunn went with it. However, I will say, what James Gunn did with the character is kind of out there. I'm not talking about the character of Superman in particular, but kind of the mythos surrounding Superman, the characters surrounding Superman, certain things that happen. It's a very weird, wacky, kind of strange movie, which I'm sure people kind of anticipated due to the fact that he directed the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, which the first one is one of my favorite Marvel movies ever made. So I did have really high expectations for the film, which maybe those high expectations are contributing to, my feelings that it, wasn't really amazing. But, let's see. I think, I will say that I think as I talk through this review, I'm going to be able to formulate an opinion, because I just saw it. Today's Thursday. I saw it a day early before it comes out. But, let's start with the good. I would say some of the side characters for me really worked and really stood out, particularly Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, aka Green Lantern. I thought he was a very memorable character. I thought some of his lines and some of the moments he had in the film were pretty funny, and hats off to him for doing a great job, even with that goddamn awful haircut. But yeah, Green Lantern, he was good. Surprisingly, Jimmy Olsen, which, I think most people would assume that the character of Jimmy Olsen would have kind of been really a side character, really just fall victim to not having enough screen time or enough to do. But I think, the characterization of Jimmy Olsen was done well, portrayed as someone who somehow gets all the girls, as kind of a playboy, when no one would really expect that. It did work. It oddly worked, and some of his comedic moments, I felt, were pretty memorable. And then Mr. Terrific, I did like. Some people are saying they thought he was the best part of the movie. I wouldn't go that far to say that Mr. Terrific was the best part of the movie, but there is a great scene, a great action scene, where he fights like 30 people at the same time, going from one person to another, and that was really cool to see. he did have a few cool moments, funny lines, funny moments, because he doesn't really think emotionally. That's not the right way to put it. He doesn't really project his emotions too often. He's obviously one of the most intelligent characters in the DC universe, so he's very analytical. That's kind of the side of his mind that he uses rather than the emotional feeling side. But he was good in the film. Lois Lane, I'm kind of on the fence about. I'm thinking back to one key scene, the scene where she talks to Superman again when he's in front of the window and the Justice gang is fighting that giant alien creature, and they kind of make up and have that moment. I thought that worked really well. I think towards the end, the scene of Superman and Lois floating, I thought that worked well too. In moments like that, you do see the chemistry that David Corinswet and the actress who plays Lois Lane share. But I will say that I had higher expectations for Lois Lane in regard to her having a little more wit and humor to her character. That might be because I enjoyed her performance in The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which I haven't seen the entire thing of yet, but I have seen episodes of it, and she's really good in it. She's funny. She is a good actress, but I feel like there were moments where she reacted to things in a very basic way, like just a look of bewilderment, and either that or saying, oh shit, or holy shit. I felt like they could have done more with the character in regard to great comedic, funny, witty moments. So that is one nitpick with her. So I guess I'm starting to go off into things that didn't work, but let me stay on the track of things that did. The heart in the movie does have a lot of heart, and that is something that I think worked well in conjunction with the way they utilized John Williams' original score. They never quite get to the point where they utilize the original score in its entirety, but in the moments where it does start to shine through, that score has so much emotion in it, so much emotion behind it. It works so well. I'm glad James Gunn at least incorporated it to some degree. Would I have liked it to be incorporated more? Yes. Am I happy that he incorporated it all? Yes, I am. I think the message of the movie is one of the strongest aspects of it, and I think that's what's elevating it for me. When it comes down to it, I think the greatest positive of the movie is the heart it has and its message, and the biggest issue I have with it is pretty much the writing, mixed with the fact that certain characters and things that happen aren't fully fleshed out, and I feel like it could have benefited from an extra 20 or 30 minutes to the movie, which I know most movies like this are too long, but I think it could have benefited from a few more things being fleshed out, primarily the relationship between Clark and Lois. I feel like if there had been more scenes of some witty banter and, the dynamic of their relationship, rather than the first major scene between them being a huge fight and then, going several scenes into the movie without them being together. I feel like if there was a way to have built up their relationship a little bit more, it could have worked out a bit better. But that's not even the main gripe. The main gripe is just the parts of the movie that don't make any sense. So in my head, it's like I'm trying to figure out, if I were to rate this movie and really try to stand on one side of the fence rather than sit in the middle of the fence, where I would land, because I do have to figure out if I think heart and humor and a good message should outweigh kind of nonsensical writing. And the kid in me wants to say definitely, because I feel like especially the superhero genre has become so oversaturated, and they get pumped out those movies so frequently that a lot of them I feel like they're kind of devoid of feeling and heart. Some of them seem like they have it, but it's kind of superficial. I feel like what James Gunn did with Superman, the message of getting up every day and putting one foot in front of the other and knowing you're going to make mistakes, but doing your best to have empathy for other people, regardless of their background or where they come from. Just trying to be a good person, a decent person, and that we're all human, and that it's important for us to strive to be better and just try to do our best and just try to be decent. I think that's a really important message. I think it's an important message for anyone to see, especially for kids growing up. I think it's a great message for them, and I was happy with the way it emotionally portrayed that message. Now, in terms of the nonsensical writing, and obviously this is where the spoilers are really going to come in, if the plan that Lex Luthor came up with was to ruin Superman's reputation and completely have the public turn against him, there's a way easier way he could have done it, considering the fact that all along throughout the movie he had a clone of Superman. He had a clone that looked exactly like Superman. So he could have literally gotten a replica suit, Superman suit, put the clone in the suit, and have the guy go out and kill a ton of people, take videos of it, put it all over the internet. Superman would have had his reputation completely and utterly destroyed forever, because even if he stepped back into the spotlight and tried to prove that no, that was a clone of me, I'm the real Superman, people would still not know if they could trust that. They wouldn't know. Obviously, if two people look exactly the same, there'd be no way for them to know either way. So there'd always be a huge amount of people who would never trust Superman again. And he could have James Gunn could have avoided that by not having a clone of Superman to begin with. It could have been any number of other options for villains that Lex utilized against Superman. It didn't have to be a clone of Superman. That part just didn't work for me. And then the next thing that I don't think made any sense was in the movie it eventually gets to the point where Lex technically has permission, apparently, to have Superman killed, and there's a scene in that pocket dimension where Metamorpho is in the cube where Superman is being held captive next to all the other people in their cubes, and Metamorpho uses kryptonite on Superman, and it obviously really, really negatively affects him. And in that moment, if I'm missing anything, by the way, tell me in the comments, because I thought at this point, Lex was already on the path of being okay with killing Superman. He doesn't kill him. He has Superman right there in his most weakened state possible that he's ever seen Superman in, due to the kryptonite. And Lex just, I'm trying to remember if he even had any justification for not killing Superman right there, what the, justification for that was, or even if there was any, or if he just walked away and decided to go do something else. But to me, it's just bad writing. That doesn't really make any sense. People could argue, well, you could go back through all the Superman comics and movies, and there's always been moments where Lex has Superman under his thumb, so to speak, due to kryptonite, and he doesn't kill Superman. And I can't recall every single moment because I haven't even read many of the comics. I grew up watching the animated show and obviously the movies and everything, but I'm sure there were moments where someone else came to save Superman at the last minute and Lex was going to kill him in the past, and B, I'm sure there were parts of the story in past iterations of Superman where Lex genuinely didn't want to kill Superman. He just wanted to kind of mentally toy with him or feel superior to him or whatever. But in this movie, it gets to the point where Lex does want to kill him. He's totally down to kill Superman, and I thought by that point in the film he was down with that, and he having him in front of him in such a weakened state by the kryptonite just ended up walking away. But I could be wrong. He could have had some justification for not doing it. I don't recall 100%. But things like that throughout the movie didn't work for me. Maybe I have to see it again, which I would be down to do. I do feel like when all is said and done, this would probably be my favorite iteration of Superman since the Richard Donner movies, which obviously I was born a lot, maybe not obviously, but because my voice might not make that apparent, but I was born a lot later than the Richard Donner movies. But I think Christopher Reeve as Superman is an iconic, great performance within the genre. I do think David Corinswet did a really good job. I also liked, back to the things I did like the idea of the hypno glasses, that the glasses he wears, it makes his face appear different to other people, because that is something within the writing of Superman that, the idea of Clark Kent just throwing on a regular pair of glasses and people can't recognize as Superman, that's always something that even as a kid I realized was kind of dumb. It didn't make much sense. Anybody would be able to realize that Clark Kent looks exactly like Superman but with slightly different hair and glasses. But the explanation of the hypno glasses, I mean, they could have come up with a better fucking name for it, but at least they did try to explain it, so that worked for me, surprisingly. And then the other thing that I thought was really a little off about the movie was, I understand if they want to have Superman's father, Jor-El, and his mother, who I'm forgetting her name, but if they want to have Superman's father, Jor-El, be imperfect, be someone who's not this, generic good guy of virtue, I understand that. I'm happy that they didn't do anything weird with Jonathan Kent, that he seemed like a good moral man, and his mother seemed of the same nature, a good moral woman. They seemed like very caring, present parents in his life. I think that was a great aspect of the movie. With Jor-El, in theory, it's fine if they want to do something different with him, because the message of the story that it doesn't really matter where exactly you come from or what your bloodline is, it's the choices you make, the choices that you decide to make are what matters. That message did work for me, but the fact that they had to go as far as to say in that it's weird thinking back to it. It just kind of seemed like a little bit much, the idea of the parents saying that Superman should have a harem of a ton of wives. I get the logic behind it is that they just want him to repopulate Krypton, so I'm kind of back and forth about it. I get where they're coming from about it, but it's just kind of a weird thing to put in a kids movie. At the end of the day, it's kind of aimed towards kids. Obviously adults can enjoy it, but it's Superman. I mean, there's undoubtedly gonna be a million kids who go to see this movie, so for parents to have to answer a ton of questions from their kids saying, what's a harem, due to watching this movie is a little bit odd. But what else? I'm gonna say something else that worked. We're pretty much going back and forth. Sorry if this wasn't very organized, but I'm just going off the top of my head. Crypto worked really well for me. Anyone who loves dogs is gonna really like Crypto in the movie, I feel like, and that was a great idea on James Gunn's part. I feel like something he really gets down is utilizing like little cute characters and animals and things like that kind of steal certain scenes they're in, and they become very culturally prominent, culturally relevant. I think he's very good at that, obviously, but yeah. And then some of the humor worked. Obviously James Gunn's humor is hit or miss. Sometimes it works really well, lands really well. Other times it's just a little bit off. But I loved the scene with Green Lantern when he was flipping over all the tanks with the giant green middle fingers. I thought that was really funny. I really liked that part. and his line when he said to the kid, sorry Superman couldn't be here, but you got an upgrade. I like that part, definitely. And then, getting to see Supergirl, a little glimpse of Supergirl at the end, that was pretty cool. I'm not too familiar with the character of Supergirl in the comics, but I'm guessing in the comics I'm guessing she parties a lot and drinks a lot on other planets. They must have taken that from the comics. But I wonder if her movie is going to be about her transitioning from being very irresponsible and not using her powers for anything good or anything virtuous to becoming a good person, doing the right thing, and becoming a little bit more like Superman. Obviously, she's her own character for a reason. She'll always have her unique flair to her, but maybe her movie is going to be something akin to that. But the movie definitely, in my opinion, has a lot in it. It really goes at breakneck pace. There's always something happening in this movie, and that's why I was saying earlier it could have actually benefited from a little bit more of a runtime. Let certain moments breathe more, let certain scenes breathe more, kind of build up character arcs a bit more, rather than bam, 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 breakneck speed with a lot of CGI. And some of it was great. Crypto was CGI. I thought they did a great job with that. Even the kaiju, certain parts of the kaiju almost looked kind of real. I mean, obviously it's CGI, but like certain elements of it I thought looked really good. I think they did a really good job with that. Parts that kind of didn't work as well were when he was in the pocket universe, he falls into that almost rainbow-like pixelated river. I forgot, something Atom River, something like that. That was a little bit kind of messy with the CGI. I feel like it was kind of just like a CGI mess at times during that sequence of the movie. But yeah, the more I talk about it, though, even though it has faults, which what movie doesn't, especially big superhero blockbusters, and blockbusters in general usually have a certain degree of imperfections, but I think the unique charm of the movie, David Corinswet definitely being a great choice to play Superman. That probably should have been something I said earlier, obviously, but he did do a great job as the character, as someone who has empathy for many different, pretty much every type of living thing. He tries to give everyone and everything the benefit of the doubt. He tries to see the good in everyone. They did hammer home that part of Superman's character, which I think is pretty much the most important part of Superman's character. But overall, it was a fun movie. Had a very great message, moral to the story, in my opinion. Definitely wasn't without its flaws. In my opinion, suffered from some pretty nonsensical, bad writing at times. But the more I talk about it and the more I think back to the movie, it also had great triumphant scenes, like when Superman saves a woman who's driving her car across a bridge and there's all this debris and smoke and dust in the air, and then he rises up from it. I mean, that's, in my opinion, was an epic shot. It was a really well done scene. And then even when the little girl sees Superman fly right by her and up into the air to fight, and she cheers for him. Scenes like that I thought worked really well. So as of the moment, I'm leaning towards like a 4 out of 5. Maybe I'll give it a 4 for that number 4 Superman robot thing in the movie. But definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you thought about Superman the movie 2025. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you think it was meh? Did you hate it? Drop them in the comments. I'm looking forward to seeing what people thought of it. I don't think I missed anything regarding the movie. Lex Luthor. He was really annoying, but I think in a good way. Like, you love to hate him. Like, I think that's kind of a mark of a decent villain. I think Nicholas Hoult as Lex did a pretty good job. I think he was a bit insufferable at times, but if a villain really gets under your skin, I feel like they've done it in a good way. I mean, like, Heath Ledger's Joker doesn't really annoy you. Heath Ledger's Joker is just, like, fascinating to watch. I think we all wish every movie could have a villain on that caliber. But on the other end of that spectrum is a villain that's just flat out boring, with no depth, no personality, no charisma, nothing at all. And I think Lex Luthor at least had personality, and he at least was truly evil, and you at least were rooting for him to fail. So the performance, I think, did work. Could he have been more charismatic, and could he have played it similar to how Michael Rosenbaum played Lex in Smallville? Yeah, he could have. I think, in my opinion, Lex is the best portrayal of Superman. But you gotta remember that show had, not Superman, Michael Rosenbaum gave the best portrayal of Lex. That show was able to build Lex up over 10 fucking seasons, or 7, however many he was in. I think 7. I haven't seen that show since I was a kid, but Michael Rosenbaum had a lot more screen time to build up that character and do what he wanted with it. Obviously, there's only one Superman movie starring Nicholas Hoult, so he only had 2 hours of the movie, and then however many minutes he had of screen time to kind of build up his character. But yeah, he did do a pretty good job, but not in my top list of villains out there. But anyway, I'm rambling. This video is going on too long. Thank you for watching. If you're listening, it's more so a listening video, I would say. But I hope everyone's doing well. Truth, justice, in the American way, or in the human way. And I will catch you in the next one. Have a great one.